Hey there, Python programmers. Welcome back as we continue learning about classes. So the topic I'm going to talk about today is something that we call magic methods. And this is basically we can set up our cat class to work with some of the built-in functions that Python already has, and it's pretty cool. Technically, we're kind of already using one because our constructor here is really one of them. The dunder init is something that automatically fires or gets called when we create a new cat. And we've seen that down here as we've created many cats together. Again, it's not like we had to say cat.dunder init. Just by using the cat class keyword and providing information, it automatically sets that up. So there's another one we've actually already seen. I'm going to remind us of it first. And that's when we try to print a cat. Now notice we've printed things like cat.name and cat.age, and that again is going to directly go to one of the attributes and print out whatever type there are. So like cat.color and name are strings, and cat.age is an integer. But if we just try to print the entirety of a cat right now, let's take a look and see what happens. And so we get this thing called main.cat object at this long list of values, and that's actually the memory address where this cat is being stored. Now, what's happening is we are providing an instance of our custom class to the built-in print. We haven't exactly told Python how we want a cat to be printed, so it's kind of going into its source code and it's using like a default for printing that. But this, may not make a lot of sense to us, or this might not be the information we want. So we can define basically an instance method that's going to tell Python exactly what to do when we want to print out a cat. And there are actually two methods that are involved with this, so we're going to define them. And the reason we call them magic methods is basically we've got these double underscores, which we a lot of times shorten to dunder. So a dunder repr method. This is what tells Python how to represent a cat class when we want to print it. Again, it's an instance method, so we're going to need to have self there. But hey, let's just real simply return, and it can be an F string, usually a good idea too. Now we don't have to use the greater than less than signs, like a lot of times, though, that's what Python does to denote it's a class. So hey, we certainly can. And we can say cat class name, and then again, we'll just do self.name. Um, we can do more, and maybe do self.color. And let's go ahead and give it a save. And now give it a new run. And look at that. It's now using what we told it to when we tried to print a cat. Now, let's just copy this real quick because I do want to mention there's a second magic method that kind of also determines how a cat is going to look when it's printed, and that's a string. So this is like the string representation of a cat, and it will do the same thing. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is Python has all sorts of different programs and packages, and depending on the package you're using, it actually might default to one of these over the other. So that's why it's usually a great idea to have too. Let's just save it and run it again. Again, we're not going to really see anything different. We're still getting that custom output we want. But if I take this away, again, remember we saw this was the what print is looking for. If Python can't find this, it's going to go ahead and look for this as a second option. So now that we've commented the repr out, but we still have the str magic method, if we give it a run, we see it's still finding that one. And let's just for, testing purposes, if we take them both out and run it, it's going back to that default. It doesn't know. So again, this is a way we can do a lot more with our classes. Now we might want to do more than just print, so let's talk about one other cool thing we can maybe do. What if we want to print the length of a blue? Yeah, let's give that a try. So we're going to try to print the length of blue. And we get an error, and it says type error, object of type cat has no len. So again, some of our class types we've learned have len, like we can get the length of a string, we can get the length of a list, we can't get the length of an integer. And really what that means is that somewhere in the source code of Python, wherever the class structure for integer is defined, there's nothing that tells Python what to do if len is called on that integer. So kind of like how we did here, if we want len to work on our custom cat class, we can. We just have to tell Python what we want to do with it. So we're going to do def dunder len. Like the others, we got to take in self. Now we can define what we want len to return. Now for what we have here, again, we only have a couple attributes. I don't want to go too crazy. I would say if we wanted to know the length of a cat based on what we had here, age would be the number I'd use. Again, it might be better to just have some sort of measurement of how long each cat is. But hey, we're just kind of seeing how it works. So let's return the self.age of a cat for len. Now, if we give this exact same code a run, we're going to see that because we've told Python what to do when our cat class has length or len called on it, we now get blue's age back. So a lot of cool stuff we can do with this. Again, there are lots of built-in functions. Now, we wouldn't want to call every function that we have in Python on a cat class, but again, the printing stuff is usually pretty important. So knowing the Dunder Repr and Dunder string is helpful. And again, len is just a great example, depending on what type of class you make, some sort of numerical class maybe. Like again, it might make a lot of sense to be able to get the length of it. So this is something we can do. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. We're going to continue on classes in the next one.